everybody. My name's Suse Fishburn and I'm married to Reverend Andy Fishburn, who's the minister over here in the west of the island. And I wanted to tell you today a little bit about my testimony. I'm not great at speaking in front of crowds, but in front of one little camera, that's okay. And then I'll just pretend that no one's going to watch this later. That's the way I'm rationalising this. I was brought up in a Christian family, which was the biggest gift. It was so lovely. I knew God as my father from the get-go, and I had a great dad. So my idea of God hasn't really changed much as I've grown up, because my parents taught me that he was loving and he was always there. My mum would pray for me every night as I went to sleep. And I remember her reading Narnia books to me at bedtime. So I was really, really lucky. And I stuck with Christianity until I went to, was it when I went to art college? I went to art college in Bath. No, it was just after that. It was after I got a job in London, that's right, at Osborne Publishing, where I designed children's books. And for some reason, I hit a bit of a crisis in my faith where I wondered, did I believe this because it was real, or did I believe it because I'd been taught it from an early age, a bit like Father Christmas? Had I just absorbed this myth? So I took what I call my year off. I decided to forget church and forget God, which is actually quite hard, really hard, either because he was real and I couldn't shake him off. Well, you know, obviously I believe that he is real. I found myself getting quite frustrated a lot of the time because I was trying to live by my own rules and I kept sensing him bothering. Go away, I don't believe in you anymore. So that was fun. After a year, I actually got a letter through the post, something about spring harvest. I'd dressed up as a banana, oddly, Boris the surfing banana, to help with the spring harvest children's work one year. And I had a letter through the post from Spring Harvest, and I remember standing in my parents' kitchen and holding it and thinking, I miss this, I really miss this, I'd love to come back. And then something bad happened that I won't go into, that made me run back to God. I just needed him. There was no other place to turn, really. So yes, after that, what happened next? I met Andy at Greenbelt Festival. That was nice. I was there with some friends. I'd been unhappily single for years, really unhappily single, kicking and, come on God, I need a husband, where is he? And then I eventually, for some reason, reached a point where I thought, oh, okay, if I'm going to be single, fine. Being single will be okay. And of course, it's then that you meet the person, isn't it? And we were at Greenbelt Festival. I was there with a group of friends, and Andy was there with a group of his friends. And it was very muddy and wet that year. And I remember seeing this guy. He was wearing, I think they were purple. I've since got rid of them. Waterproof trousers, a great big waterproof jacket, a waterproof hat, and pretty much all I could see were these eyes. And I thought, oh wow, I bet he's not a Christian. But I found out he was, and I hunted him down and got my man, so that was good. And then, so he was a physics teacher at this point. And then we were living in a very lovely cottage in back across where we used to live. And it was going to be our forever home, and life was quite comfortable. And then a really weird thing happened. We had an Anglican church just up the road from us, and the vicar of the Anglican church used to walk past our cottage every day to go to morning prayers or whatever she did, communion or something. And I saw her one day, and I suddenly knew, I want that. That's my calling. And it was really bizarre how you just suddenly know something deep down. And I thought at that point that I was being called into full-time ordained ministry. So I pursued that and went to various Methodist, seeker things. Is this your calling? I was training to be a local preacher, which I found incredibly hard because I'm super introverted. I made it halfway through the course and then just thought, you're making yourself ill with this. This is around whole square peg thing. Or is that the other way around? Anyway, I decided I chickened out, is probably the truth at that point. But anyway, I was pursuing this idea of ministry, but I was really struggling with it, really struggling, because I'm so introverted. I mean, I can't be in a room with more than 3 or 4 people without finding it tough. Actually, it's probably a social anxiety thing. So yeah, I remember lying in bed one night, crying and saying, God, I know you're calling me to this. I know you are, and I will. Oh, sorry, washing machine beeping. I said to God, I know you're calling me to this, and I will do it, but I really, really don't want to. And I heard God almost, probably as clearly as I've ever heard him, if I'm honest. And he said, it's not you I'm calling, it's Andy, but I want you to know that you're worthy of the call too. And I'm tearing up a bit. So then Andy came back from the bathroom having brushed his teeth, and I was like, it's you, it's not me, it's you. So then he was able to pursue that calling and look into it and assess. He took a lot of time to weigh that idea and found, yes, this was his calling. But I think the calling was for us as a couple and as a family. So that was interesting. Another thing I will just tell you, I think probably the last thing, these are supposed to be short, was when my mum died. My mum died, she had cancer for many years, and it was incredibly sad, and it was very strange because I grieved for her while she was still alive, and when she died I didn't actually cry because I was done. Actually, I'd cried for years with the sadness of, fearing that someone's about to leave you. And she was my best friend. Me and my mum were so close. It was such a blessing. But on the night before she died, the medics had told us it's going to be this date. She was given 3 weeks at the end of her life. So we spent those 3 weeks together as a family, and it was really special, and it was lovely, and it was surreal. But on the night before she died, I was in my mum and dad's house, in their guest room, just crying and just kind of at the end of my rope, really, with sadness. And I felt God. It was almost as if you imagine there's a curtain and it lifted a little bit, and I just knew God was there. It was the most bizarre thing. It's really hard to put into words, but I think that's the time I felt God with me in the most real way, and I'll treasure that. It was beautiful, just to know God that close. I think the Bible says, doesn't it, God's near to the brokenhearted, and I can think back to that moment and think, yeah, he is. So I think that's all my story. We're at Peel Methodist now. I'm at Peel Methodist and loving it there. I just love the people. I love the worship. It's such a diverse group. We're a lovely bunch, and I'm going to miss them, sorely miss them over these coming weeks. But we'll all be back together again before we know it. And in the meantime, there's lots of virtual Facebook stuff going on. So it's not all bad.